Listen, welcome to another edition of Road to Recovery, Lawrence County's Road to Recovery. And man, have we got a good one here. I've done heard some stories on this gentleman right here. Jeff, hey buddy, good to see you. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
And I'm joined right here by the, this is my Vanna White right here, if her husband's. Oh, you okay with me saying that, Jeff? Mike, I mean, yes. Yeah. But Kathy, thank you so much. And you kind of know some history with this gentleman right here, don't you?
He's a pretty good homegrown dude. Like he is. He's one of our folks, and very proud of him and what he does in the recovery community and what he stands for and what he represents. It's great.
Man, Jeff, let's, you know, we call this Road to Recovery. We're talking outside. You know, we want to go to something. We don't want to come from something, you know, right. and especially in recovery. You know, I tell people all the time when I was using in the darkest of my times, I was always running from something. You know, you have to be when you're in that world. And man, until I became sober, I finally learned what it was like to run to something, to be able to chase a dream. You don't follow it, you chase that thing.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And it's hard to do any of those things I just talked about. When you're clouded, when your mind is, I guess you could almost say deranged to a certain, because you do things under the influence of any of that stuff that you normally wouldn't do as you're sitting here today, you know, looking back on that. So tell us a little bit, we won't go back too far, but tell us a little bit about your history. You know, you're from around here.
Yeah.
And,
I actually grew up in South Point. I've been around here pretty much off and on my whole life. I don't know, man. I played sports throughout school. You know what I mean? I didn't actually play for school until once I got into junior high, I started moving around from South Point to Chesapeake, you know what I mean? Back and forth. Then went to Charleston, I believe. Then when I moved to Florida when I was 16, and down there was really crazy compared to up here.
Oh, sure.
So, you know what I mean? I ended up quitting school. And then when I tried to come back, it was already too late for me to go back to school or whatever. So just started working, and then that's when the bad started.
Man, did something, can you remember, and Kathy and I were talking about this outside, can you remember, was there just one certain thing that the switch flipped, or was it just accumulation of over time, I'll dabble in it a little, or I'm looking at, you know, this, that, and the other?
Yeah, it was. Like I said, it was pretty much started with my parents and family. Like I seen them go through some things, and I don't know, just finally when I turned 17, 18, I think, I just got that wild hair. My buddies was doing it, decided to take a drink. And then, from there, it was just one thing to the next,
Just progressed from there?
Yeah, just progressed from there.
How long did it stay on the alcohol thing?
I don't know. Few years, you know what I mean, and then as over time got, you know what I mean, I laid off of the alcohol as much because I lost an uncle because of cirrhosis to the liver and then other things.
So you kind of knew.
So yeah, I knew, but then I don't know, the alcohol didn't. It was cool to do it to get drunk,
didn't get
you know what I mean,
though.
but it didn't get me right.
Yeah,
It started getting nasty,
you had to
you
find
know what
the
I
thing
mean?
you
Yeah, it
wanted.
started getting nasty and everything, and then that led to smoking marijuana, and then that led to snorting this and snorting that, and it just
What do you think the thing was that kind of took you over the edge? Which one could you never stay away from that really, you know, wrecked your life?
Really, the only one that I did every single day that I had to have every day was marijuana.
Really?
Every single day.
Every
then
day.
when I got into when the opioids hit, you know what I mean? I liked doing a pain pill here and there, but it wasn't. I was always a speed person.
Okay. Same here.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I didn't want nothing that made me eat more than I already ate.
Right.
And I sure didn't.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't want nothing to sleep. I didn't want to be a zombie.
Exactly.
I was ready to fix something, tear something up, put it back together.
Right.
I never did accomplish anything.
Right.
You know, I mean, it was just
thought I did.
Oh yeah.
Fold laundry, and they'd say I'd start with the bottom, and then flip the basket over and start with the bottom again. That you never did get it done.
And please understand that in our world, you have to find humor along the way. We have to laugh at ourselves. I mean, we walk around the halls sometime, and I told him the other day, I said, I was driving home from Lexington the other morning at 3 o'clock in the morning from a show. I've been driving 6 hours, and I thought just a half a gram.
That'll get me to Ashland.
That'll get me to Ashland. I'm telling you right now.
Bridge,
you know, then I laugh about it,
of
you know,
course,
because and I want to tell you something, Jeff. That somebody told me this weekend was really cool, and I want to see how you feel about this and see if you've experienced the same thing. And I'm sure Kathy has. But I was doing a show in a bar, A lot of drinking, you know, and I normally don't like to do those, but it was a situation where I needed to do it, and it was great. And there was two couples on the front row. They had bought front row tickets, and I noticed they were drinking like non-alcoholic beer, O'Doul's and whatever else kind. And I thought, man, that's cool, you know. And afterwards, they come up to me in the meet and greet, and they said, hey, thank you so much for what you do with recovery, and we watch your videos, and we know what's going on in Lawrence County Recovery, and so forth. And I said, well, how does that? You know, they said we're all alcoholics, every one of us. I mean, the husband, wife, and the other couple husband, we're all just sot drunk alcoholics. And they told me their sobriety date and everything. And I said, well, does that bother you at all to be in here with 250, you know, not 250 addicts, 250 people drinking and partying and throwing them back and having a good time? And the guy just summed it up. And it was just a moment of clarity for me. He said, no, I'm over the hump.
Yeah. The desire is gone.
Yeah.
Gone.
And man, just that hump.
Yeah.
And I did a video on it this morning. That just resonated with me because we're all just trying to get over the damn hump. And sometimes that hump is big and it's hard and you climb and you crawl. And I compare it sometimes to swimming in mud. You know, it's just like
You can't get
slow
there.
motion. But man, it's like riding a bicycle. When you get to the top and you can see the other side,
It's amazing.
it's unbelievable how you go down that hump and and I thought it was the neatest thing that they weren't ashamed of their sobriety. It didn't affect them. You know, they weren't shy about it. You know, they said, look, we're having just as much fun as they are.
Yeah.
Well, I work another program that outside, like, your secrets keep you sick.
They do.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
to get over those things, I talk about them out loud. I talk about them to people. I talk about them to my sponsor.
Yep.
And it makes that easier. Now, one of our counselors at Lawrence County Recovery used to beat it into our head to remove yourself from high-risk situations early in sobriety. And early is in the first year.
I get it.
You know what I mean? Don't put yourself in those positions.
Where you think you could return
where
to use.
don't test yourself, you know what I mean? But in the position that I'm in today, you know what I mean, and the things that I do in my community, things I do at church, the things that I do with the other program that I work as well, it's an anonymous, you know what I mean? But
Yeah, I got you.
keeping to traditions, I won't say anything after.
course.
But you know what I mean? But when I do those things, you know what I mean, that keeps me active. I remember being in treatment, and we would have to do.
We had some times, didn't
Oh,
we?
yeah.
Like we were
We'd
first
have to
opening.
do-
Like when we first opened. So we were the new kids on the block, Lawrence County Recovery. So
Yeah.
we didn't get like it was a lot of them that people would be like, hey, these are some hard folks. If you can crack these nuts, then you guys might make it. And
He looks like he'd be a hard one to
they
crack,
sent me
I
a
can tell
whole
you.
dozen of them at one time, didn't you? Watch him
Yeah.
laugh. He knows they
It
give me a
was-
run for my
Oh,
damn
I
money.
can
Oh, I
imagine.
did. It was great.
It was one that, you know what I mean, a few of us wanted to come in and was just like, well, we can do it this way,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
We can do it that way. But the faster that I learned, my way is what got me there.
Exactly.
I have to
yeah.
do it a different way. I have
Sure.
to start taking suggestions. And then, man, things
Find
just
what
got
works.
so much easier. So much easier.
One
So-
thing I hear a lot of, and I want to ask you about too, and see how Kathy feels about this too. You hear so many people that when they finally have some sobriety under their belt, month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, I hear so many people, friends of mine. I did it. I did it personally myself, so I can speak from experience. I was using really heavy cocaine, meth, the whole 9 yards. And one day I said, okay, you know what? I'm done with it, and I'm moving away from here. I'm going to Baton Rouge.
Geographic
Yeah,
security.
I'm
Take
going
my
to
ass
Baton
somewhere
Rouge,
else.
and you know what? I'm gonna get away from these
Yeah.
people, and
It's
they're
them.
the reason I'm like I am, and I hate Johnny and Jimmy and Susie. They're running this stuff up my nose.
Yeah.
I moved to Baton Rouge, and 4 days after I was there, high as a kite.
I was gonna say you found it all.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
I
See,
love
that stuff
cliches.
travels.
Oh, it does.
I
But
love
we
little
take us anywhere
cliches,
we
so
go.
no matter where you are, there you are.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Take you.
I really
Yeah.
thought, that I could just pack my suitcase and leave all that behind, and it didn't exist in Baton Rouge. But see, there's people in Baton Rouge just leaving Baton Rouge to go to Tampa because they're
Exactly.
going to try to get away
Yeah.
from it because they still there. But I finally come to the realization that that is something that addiction is
Yeah.
something that you
Yeah.
can't run from.
With some things, I'm still a little hard-headed. So,
Let's hear it.
Really?
Let's hear it.
me growing up here, I wanted to shove it back in everybody's face that doubted me.
Right.
I don't need to go anywhere. I can do it right here in front of you.
Yeah.
Because I have the tools now to be able to handle those situations. I was just telling somebody about this in a meeting the other day. Like, it was really funny because at first, early in group, there are people like, man, it's so hard in here because I'm 3 or 4 hours away from home. Like, I don't know it. listen, I'm from here. I could stop at 10 different places every single day if I wanted
Oh,
to. You know what I mean?
absolutely.
Like,
Yes, sir.
So I don't know which one would be the hardest, you know what I'm saying? But now that I have the tools, I was telling somebody the other day, like, I can ride around here now and notice things that I've never noticed before.
Yeah.
Like, and friends tell me, like, "Boy, right, that's always been there." Like, I never knew it. You know what I mean?
Never
Never
paid
paid
attention,
attention.
never looked
Right,
up.
Never
right.
looked up. So, man, it's.
I tell people a lot of times when Kathy and I spoke at Star a few weeks ago or whatever, and I was telling some of those people that, man, when you finally reach sobriety and you know your system is whole again, it's amazing. I noticed personally that a sunset.
It's beautiful.
It's unbelievable.
Yes.
And I told those girls, I said, you know, when you're high and you're out of your mind and your babies are crying and you're about to blow your brains out, you can't stay, you know, shut up. But man, when you're sober, that's the best
it is.
gift in the world,
Oh,
to
it
hear that
is.
baby crying and to know that you can go over there and comfort that baby.
Appreciate
and
it.
Yeah, and appreciate that. And I said, man, you know, just life is different through sober lens. I don't care what anybody says.
sure.
And it's
For sure.
easier said than done. I get it. You know, I had it. I tell Kathy and other people, my story doesn't compare. I shut up telling mine because then I meet so many
I know.
people that's had it
Amazing.
so much worse than I did. But that still doesn't negate the fact that we don't all come out and tell our stories and try to. And I don't know you, and we won't keep you much longer. But here's what I can say: I'm a pretty decent judge of character. Kathy, you help me on this. You, my friend, I can tell, and I consider you my friend now. You can change lives. I'm just telling you, dude.
I appreciate it.
I
appreciate
can
it.
see the goodness in a man that's probably been through the ringer a couple of times.
Yeah,
And there's
definitely.
somebody that'll
Yes.
watch this that's had it a lot worse than you.
And one of the biggest things too is like I love the support from the owners, from staff, and everybody. Whenever I was in, I think I was 10 and a half months last
Yeah.
year, and
Yeah.
my mom passed right before
Yeah.
Christmas, and I still
Unexpectedly.
didn't unexpectedly. But before I could even get there, my case manager and my counselor, like they're both there. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like waiting on me.
Somebody, yeah.
Somebody there waiting on you. You know what I
There's
mean?
always
so like
somebody.
with me, for my mom to see me sober before she did pass, you know what I mean? That did it for me. Like
Absolutely.
I've
She
never,
knew. She seen
yeah,
it.
she got to see it, and I used that in my story as well. You know what I mean? But like I said, my thing to people when they're first getting in: get active, stay active. All them suggestions they ask you about doing a home group, do this, do that, do them.
Yeah.
And don't
keep
buck the
doing
system
them.
and just
Yeah,
keep doing them.
Yeah.
I'll never forget you handing out candy with us at Halloween.
Oh,
You
yeah.
remember? I didn't know it was like a local celebrity, and we're handing out candy in Irish at this church. And they was like, is that Jeff Boatwright? And I was like, what did you do? Stand beside me. Like, as we're handing out this candy, but it was great because I can't count the number of people that come over like, dude, you look amazing. What are you doing? And he owned every minute of it. He's like, man, I'm sober. He's like, life's good. And
What
just
happened?
sitting there and
Isn't it
watching
crazy
that,
what's
it just,
happened?
oh my God, my heart was just smiling. And I told him, I'm like, okay, so what do we got to do? Like, to get you off paper, like
Right.
you're going to do something, because he'd take these guys that come in, and these little fellers that come in hadn't been sober before, and he would buddy up to them and then introduce them in a different way to some support in the community. And all of a sudden, they wanted to go to meetings, they wanted to go do these things. And had he not kind of shown them that direction, there were several of them that wouldn't have made it through the program.
Right.
And he did. He just kind of took them in, and I was like, man, this is who I want to be drawn to. This is the kind of person that I want to stand next to me whenever I'm getting sober, or if I'm having an issue, because he's been there and he doesn't judge, but he works the program. And you
yeah.
won't co-sign the bullshit, and you will make sure that it's on the straight and narrow. And I appreciate that about
I'm still
you.
known as junior staff.
He does, and it's
So,
great.
so if he gets off paper, I'm out of a job.
I'm gonna tell you, I
You
mean,
got
I
a few
don't
more.
know.
Who do I need to talk to? Is it?
I'm not taking nobody's job. I'll join the
We in
clan.
That's what I
Huntington.
told
Where
him.
you at? I'm gonna do some research.
That's it. I told him, I
Listen.
said, it's great to watch him and prosper, and I've seen you now develop great relationships with your kids and just your family and just people in general. And I know that, you sent me a picture one time when you got your place on your own, and it was like a pond out front, and it was like in a summer morning or whatever, and he
still
was
there.
like, what is this? Like,
Yeah.
this is living
It's overwhelming,
the
isn't
life.
it?
Oh,
Yeah,
it's
it's good.
That's
great.
one of them times
I
when
love
you
it.
wake up, and that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying, through sober lens,
Yes.
meaning your eyes, man, it looks different.
Oh, it
That
does.
pond probably 10 years ago didn't make a damn bit of difference to you. Probably been in it taking
My
a bath.
buddy lived right across the street. I seen it all the time.
Yeah,
Didn't
you
care
never
about
looked at it,
Yeah,
did you?
didn't care about it.
You walk out on the front porch and there's some birds chirping up there. The sun's coming up. You got
Yes.
the good Lord in your
Yeah.
heart. You got a clean mind, a clean body. That pond, look at this, that little bitty pond.
Oh,
Been
yeah.
there for a long time. Big deal now.
Oh
ain't
yeah,
it?
big deal. Big,
Man,
huge
you're
deal.
going to do great things, but already
Appreciate
doing
it.
great things, and I'm
Appreciate it.
glad to meet you. But you ain't getting my job. All right.
I don't want your job. I don't want your job.
Kidding, dude. Thank you
It's
so
very
much,
nice to
man.
meet you.
All
Thanks
right,
for
thank
having
y'all
me.
for joining us for Lawrence County's Road to Recovery. We'll see you next time. Thanks, Ken.